Hey guys, it is time to review Monster Hunter Wilds. So let's dive into the usual topics, story, gameplay, graphics and music. But something's worth mentioning is that I kinda put together this review by talking with other people who also played more or less at my same rhythm. Players who came back after 4U, some that have only played Rise and stuff like that. And as always, I am a player first and foremost, not a fanboy. The heaviest critique can be found on the gameplay section. Without further ado, let's begin. This game begins with a cinematic where a monster is attacking a village. Right away the game is shown as one of the main characters in this entry, Nara, a boy that was thrown into a cave with the premise to stay alive. As in later we get to see our group exploring the Forbidden Lands, where they notice a person in the middle of the desert. This was a revelation for the hunters, as they thought these places were inhabited. And that is how the main character, let's call it that way, is recruited to explore these regions. And while traveling through the desert, they find a little girl being chased, so of course MC has to do what MC has to do. And this is good enough for a Monster Hunter intro. And the fact is that, to be honest, I don't play Monster Hunter for their stories. This one is no exception. What I have to point out is that while scrolling some memes, I saw something like, the success of this game was attributed to its story. And yep, I laugh a bit, I'm not gonna lie. Let me put it into perspective. It would be as if I said that I play Etro and Odyssey games because of their stories. Yeah, no one in this channel is going to buy that comment from me. Same as Monster Hunter. I mean, here they could throw the most meaningless narrative, and a good chunk of people wouldn't really care. Now, analyzing this narrative because yep, I check every single scene and interaction. There were many moments where I was questioning myself between fast skipping all of this and there is probably something interesting. And yeah, it has interesting moments, but unfortunately there are several things that diminish the experience. And oh well, I can stand Nara. He's just a child that had the misfortune to be in the middle of a monster attack. Yeah, I get why he can be annoying and quite irrational. Then again, he's just a child. But once you reach his village, you notice that his whole journey was kind of irrelevant. Like, yeah, we are fine, we just had to throw the kid, otherwise there would be no tomorrow. And the whole concept of this is a weapon of mass destruction and the hunter arrive. You're not going to buy me with something like a movie. At best, it is as hits. Gameplay wise, Wilds is pretty much 75% world, 25% Rise. Polyminutes were thrown away, and instead we received some chocobos. So okay, at least we don't have to slowly run all over the place, considering that the maps are quite big. As for other mechanics, we could say that the main essence of Monster Hunter is there, as you will hunt some monsters, craft a thing or two, then move to another area, rinse and repeat. What I enjoy is that it seems like weapons receive some changes, or at least the lance isn't as always where I need to relentlessly press circle for the triple high thrust, and the focus mode is quite entertaining to use. Perhaps a bit weird in the way in which I have to grab the control, not sure if I am the only one, but aside from that, no real issue. Another change is that now your weapon and armor have specific slots, so you cannot abuse the system like in previous entries, allocating damage like there's no tomorrow. And another change is that now you can kinda carry two weapons at the same time. I'll come back to this point, but aside from this, there are no real changes into the game. In a sense, I definitely like it, but I also have to point out other several things. For example, the length of the game. When I bought Wilds, I had no real expectations to receive a full game, and effectively in something like 27 hours I had already hunted everything the game has to offer. This is quite similar to World and Rise, so if we are getting half-cooked games, it is because we are accepting this. As I explained in Rise 1.0, it is disappointing. Because in other entries you were able to put over 100 hours and still have lots of things to do. But what's going to happen here is that in some days or months we are going to get some extra monsters. The meta is going to be switch, and we have reasons to play like 10 hours. Then we reach another stagnant point and wait for another month to get other monsters. What surprised me is that people were expecting a challenge. It is more than obvious that Capcom wants to make the game easy so they can attract more and more people. Later there will be an excuse to get you rank, and they can throw a slightly harder content. And I say it like that because afflicted monsters were nerfed little after they were released, because a lot of people had complaints as they weren't able to finish the quest. So right now I will say that I don't expect much. It is fair to mention that after playing over 1000 hours Monster Hunters, you get used to a lot of things. So I would ask, what do you consider a proper difficulty? Probably a white fatalist just to mess with some players and that's it. On this front, a topic that rose with my friends and acquaintances is that they are disappointed to pay $70 for a game like this. And yeah, I agree. Because the value of this game is only going to drop. But the first impression as a whole isn't particularly the best. Because we don't know if the future monsters are going to be half-cooked or if they are going to effectively release newer monsters. And this is going to be a controversial topic later. Some people will be happy to receive some old monsters and probably new ones. And there is also going to be the other side of the coin. On this front, I still don't agree with the way in which these games have been released. I am willing to see this one through, but I talk from experience after following this company since their early games that yeah, they like to reuse stuff and hype people. As for the second weapon, in all honesty, I didn't find it as something of real impact, because everything is going to depend from the kind of build you want to use, and the kind of synergy between weapons. While this can be something stupidly amazing in the future, there is also the possibility that it's going to be forgotten. I mean, the same thing happened with some mechanics in Rise. While it might sound gloomy, I believe its gameplay is still entertaining as heck. I will give it an 8.5. In the graphics section I like to check game performance, glitches, aesthetics and other technical things. While playing, the only glitch I found is that sometimes if you cancel the action to move rocks, you can get stuck being unable to do something aside from moving around on top of your chocobo. If you ask me how to solve it, no idea, after like 2 minutes it fixed itself. Aside from that, I had no other real issue. But sometimes textures and things like that get a bit messy while you travel from one place to another. I believe it is worth mentioning that there seems to be more problems in the PC version. Not sure what happens there, but I have seen several comments about being terribly unoptimized. Now, if you've been around this channel for a while, you know I don't care about perfect 60 FPS or that the game has to be polished as heck. At this point, it doesn't surprise me if these so-called AAA games mess several things, but what you definitely hear me say several times, it's about repainting enemies. And while I understand that Rathalos and Rathian are a must, why in the actual heck do you throw another freaking Rathalos? The Guardian one, to be precise. The current roster of monsters is really limited, and you recycle this thing? This is what I call being lazy. Having so many other options to choose, even monsters that haven't appeared since generations, you make another boring Rathalos. Aside from that, I like how the game looks in general. The environments and little effects like when you're hunting in the desert and there is a sandstorm, how your character looks dusty, or if you're fighting in the middle of a blizzard, how little pieces of ice appear in your clothes. Those are little details I definitely liked. And as many of you, I also made my Palico as the cat that follows me around. Yep, she's not mine. Unironically, she is quite wild and a really good hunter, that oftentimes has a pigeon. Why I was adopted by her, no idea, but she keeps the roof clear from other cats, so thanks a lot. And regarding colors, not sure if it is just me, but does this game looks opaque as heck? Like someone messed up saturations and light? Yeah, no idea, but it looks a bit bad. Considering all these details, to me the graphics are an 8. The truth is that Monster Hunter Wilds has nice graphics, but there is plenty of room to improve. And last but not least, its music. Similar as Monster Hunter World, this game has a good number of orchestral arrangements. There is a nice level of composition with different tunes, particularly I liked Jin the Hat, Arbel and Uth Duna themes, along the intro track that is played while you select your file. But as I've said in other videos, this particular approach isn't my cup of tea. Or what I mean with that is that, for the game these tracks work quite well, but I wouldn't go out of my way to listen to it in a normal day. Perhaps my only comment is that I didn't find those sticky tunes as in World. For example, Booming Roar in the Reach, Frontier Base Eliana, Lord Bagelgoose. Those are the kind of compositions I enjoy the most. But of course, I won't deny that they do wonders when you're obliterating a monster or two. On that same note, the sounds of the game were of my liking. Depending from the area you will hear other sounds like birds, the sounds of the wind, and stuff like that. These kinds of details do wonders, as you definitely feel like the whole place is connected. To me the soundtrack is an 8. Monster Hunter Wilds' final score is a 7.6. It is a good game, I do believe there is a lot of potential in this entry, but I won't turn a blind eye to half-cooked games. I mean, the way in which they have been released these past years. However, if it is your first time playing Monster Hunter, I do believe most of you are going to have a blast. For the veterans who expect something new, I don't know, probably in G rank, and I would suggest to keep expectations low, which unfortunately doesn't live up to the hype. Just as a reminder, a popular product doesn't mean it has proper quality. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.